Well, no, but also yes. Like most things in FNaF, the answer is both complicated and unconfirmed. For one thing, the various stories have a number of inconsistencies, especially with game continuity. On that note, we should clarify some vocabulary before we continue. To keep things as short and simple as I'm able, canon here will mean real, true, and is an official part of the franchise, as in Scott approved and did not retcon. Continuity, conversely, will mean exists in a designated space, timeline, or universe. We will treat the FNaF franchise as a multiverse, a la MCU, and the game universe as our sacred timeline. So let's break things down by series and then non-series books. To begin, we will address the trilogy, known interchangeably as the Silver Eyes Trilogy or the Charlie Trilogy. Are these books canon? Yes. However, it is not in the game continuity. These 3 books contradict the information and events in the games too much to be part of our sacred timeline. Now, remember, almost nothing in this franchise is outright, undisputedly confirmed, so our evidence consists of significant parts of both theory and speculation. Onward! First and foremost, the biggest and most pivotal difference between game continuity and trilogy continuity is Charlie herself, or more accurately, who she possesses upon death and how. William Afton killing Charlotte Emily appears to be a canon event. Note, this phrase can be taken both at face value and for the MCU definition. At some point early in both timelines, he kills her at a Fazbear's location, Fredbear's Diner in the books, and seemingly Freddy's in the games. In the games, the security puppet tries to help her, gets to her too late, breaks down on her corpse, and is subsequently possessed by her. In the trilogy, it is understood that she, either literally or through unexplained remnant agony complications, possesses an Ella doll that her father cries into, and this appears to be sometime after her funeral. There is too little similarity in these events and those that follow as a result of these events for these to simply be retellings of the same event. Because of this, we now have our second continuity. The next series is one of the 2 most debated, the Fazbear Fight series. Why? Well, after the first series was so blatantly a different timeline, why would this be the sacred one? Well, because Scott said so? Well, sorta. He said enough to make things rather confusing, and in a theory-based fandom, everything is already confusing and heavily debated. This gets even more complicated when the very first story, Into the Pit, gets revisited not once, but twice, arguably 3 times. And that first revisit is in a game. Arguably both revisits are games, but at this specific point we are arguing semantics. Still, the big issues here are that these books contain around 37 stories, including the Stitch Race Stingers, and while some of these stories seem interconnected, some of them also contradict each other, let alone the games. There are multiple world-ending events. Almost all of these stories could and would bring about even more bad press for Fazbear Entertainment. So, where fights are concerned, they are official franchise merchandise, but are they canon? Well, according to Scott, some are. We don't know which or under what continuity, but partially yes. Personally, the fact that the series name not only is, but was changed to Fazbear Fights from Twisted Tales, and the in-game horror attraction in FNaF 3 is also Fazbear Fights, I am under the belief of Fights fiction. The basis of this theory is that the series exists in-universe as a Goosebumps-esque book series. Why? A combination of satire, cover-up, and any press is good press. For example, while no direct proof seems to be found, I believe, without real proof beyond conjecture, that the FNaF 3 location was in some way owned by Fazbear Entertainment to stir up interest in the franchise any way that they can. How else could they access and possess so much company property? And for Scott to use the same name for the stories, well, they're also horror books, and at worst, if you search for one and get the other, more money in Fazbear pockets. Besides that, what better way to dispel rumors than by altering them telephone game style, blow them further out of proportion, and publish them as official merch? Again, if anyone tried to look into rumors, they might stumble upon fights and then abandon the search because, oh, they're just children's stories. Is this theory confirmed? No! But so few ever are, and that's okay. A theory is allowed to be just a theory. Outside of Fright's fiction, the two most common assessments of this series are Fright's games, which I've already argued against, and Stitchline games, where the stingers and their connected stories are part of the game continuity. Notably, despite Scott's statement, some people may still believe the stories to be standalones, and that's okay. For the third series, we move on to the controversial canonicity of Tales from the Pizzaplex. As with everything else, yes, this is logically canon, but the question really becomes, what continuity timeline is this? Tales games? Tales fiction? Its own timeline? Well, the main games that would connect to these would be, well, the Steel Wool era and the AR game, most notably Security Breach / Ruin and The Secret of the Mimic. Going through the, well, vague notes scattered throughout the games seems to suggest that at least some people, or robots, are seeing events play out like deja vu, like they've dreamed themselves in the bodies of alternate timelines. Because of this, I personally feel like Tales may parallel the games, but exist on their own timeline. All in all, the biggest debate comes down to Tales games or their own timelines? Well, now that we've covered the others, it's time to aim our sights on the fourth series, the weird case of the interactive novels. There are 4 of these branching path books: Book 0, VIP, which was released digitally for free, Book 1, the week before, Book 2, Return to the Pit, and Book 3, Escape the Pizzaplex. To begin with, VIP does not directly contradict any existing canon, game, or book continuities. It does, however, add to it, especially in the form of questions such as, what happened to VIP afterwards? Book 1, the week before, specifically states that it takes place the week before the first 5 nights at Freddy's game, and though there's the weirdness of the New Game Plus ending seeming to be the true ending, it doesn't really contradict the games in any way, only occasionally itself. In fact, all of the interactive novels are like that, which calls into question Return of the Pit even more. This story has been retold not once, but twice, thrice if you count the graphic novel adaptation, and has been overall fairly consistent each time, although the Pit continuity is already questionable, especially with the seeming time travel and inconsistent death count. This one, due to being a Fright's adaptation, is the one that I'm the most iffy on. However, I'm not against Stitchline games, and Into the Pit is part of the Stitchline. Then there is Escape the Pizzaplex, another apparent Security Breach prequel that further suggests the GGY/Gregory accomplice idea and shows that he and Cassie had been friends and playing around the Pizzaplex after hours for a long while. Without any glaring complications or contradictions, I am in full support of considering these books to be part of our sacred timeline. In short, canon and game, or relevant continuity until and unless proven otherwise, especially with branching paths. The rest of the books can basically be speedrun. The guides, not in universe, unless potentially a wanted one has its own that I don't know about. The cookbook, it could go either way. The activity, sticker, and coloring books could go either way. Art books, IOL merch. The movie novel, IOL merch. The guidebooks, including the Freddy Files and Character Encyclopedia, IOL merch. The logbook, well, now we're in weird territory. It is entirely possible that it is merely IRL merch. However, I am under the belief that Mike filling out the book in red ink/text means that this was an in-universe activity book for the FNaF 3's horror attraction for guests, and Mike filled it out from boredom, probably during night 1 or before. If it is game continuity canon, then this is the only way that I can think to make it make sense. On the same vein, I think that's how the ephemera kit works as well. I believe that it was a new employee handbook/kit that Mike and other security guards had been handed and marked up accordingly. I can think of no other reason for it to possess the things that it does. I believe it to be in-universe, interacted with, and then sold IRL as merch accordingly. Back on track. The comics, well, they're just adaptations of other stories, so they're either on those timelines or parallels to them. Now, before we wrap this up, 2 more books are due out within a year: Secret Artifacts and the Ultimate Guide version 2.0. My views on the guides have already been stated, though the Secret Artifacts book could be either IRL or in-universe merch. I lean heavily towards IRL merch for it as well, though. So, like the beginning of the video, are the books canon? It's complicated and unconfirmed. All of the books are some degree of canon, but whether or not they are in-game continuity varies from book to book and is up for debate. The trilogy? Its own continuity. Fazbear fights in their comics? Varying timelines, but I lean towards fights fiction. Tales? Most likely their own timeline. Basically, everything else seems like either IRL or in-universe merch, including the security/survival logbook and ephemera kit, which I believe that Mike filled in out of boredom, making them in-universe objects turned IRL merch. So, those are my thoughts on the FNaF books being canon. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below or discuss later, whatever works for you. Hope you all have a wonderful day, or at least the day you deserve. May, over and out. Bye-bye.